Hey, fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. There's a lot of complaints right now that the players keep changing balls in every tournament. I think it's obviously a hassle to get used to conditions, to get used to food, to travel everywhere, to used to the surface. But also they have to get used to new balls pretty much every tournament. And that's getting a little bit difficult for the players in terms of physical health. So you see more wrist injuries. Taylor Fritz talked about that. His wrist has been feeling it after the US Open series. That was in a reply to a post from Sisu Bergs, another ATP player, where he says he's struggling with injuries due to the ball. So the constant change, new ball sponsor, definitely maybe a heavier ball, a slower ball, a livelier ball. Obviously you need to adjust your game to the ball. If you've been playing a lot of tennis, you know that the new fresh ball makes a huge difference from a ball that's been used a few hours. And a championship cheaper ball is different from a more premium ball, where an extra duty felt ball is different from a standard duty ball, as is a high altitude ball from a standard ball. So balls are a topic you need to consider. I really have my favorite balls, like the Dunlop Fort, All Court, and the RS balls I find very good. Me and Henrik did a long ball test, so check that out on the channel, where we test a bunch of cans of balls. We'll also test other balls in the future. But there are many good balls out there, but they're different. So to keep changing them all the time is very tough. And we're already asking a lot of the players in terms of adjustment. We're asking a lot of them physically these days, because the tennis game is now tougher than ever before. The rallies are longer. They need to put in more physical effort and more work. And there are more injuries, of course. So you can blame the equipment. Partly, we have this situation where you have more powerful rackets, polyester strings to get better control, but also stiffer in terms of sensation to the arm. And all that paired together with different balls, heavier balls, slower courts, means that you're putting more strain on the body. So with the slower courts, you always have to work harder to win a point. You can't just rely on like a 1-2, and stuff like that anymore. It seems like they are defending so much better, the players. So you need to put more effort into winning a point. Some rallies are simply endless. Medvedev has commented on this, that it's very tough today to actually win points. You need to work so hard to win a point. And it's been that way due to like the rise in big servers in the 90s, 2000s. I think they wanted to reduce the speed a bit because, there were too many complaints about the rallies being too short. It's also a problem now that they're endless rallies and the players really need to struggle to win points. At some point, maybe we have to do some changes to the materials. We have to maybe make some rule adjustments to make sure that the players can play longer, play healthier, and don't have more injuries. Because already it's becoming quite clear that young players are getting injured very, very quickly, very early, sliding on hard courts, playing a lot on pretty firm hard courts, heavy balls, stiff rackets and stiff strings. It's all a combo that puts a lot of strain on the body. So I think it's something we have to think about as a tennis community, as a sport. How do we maintain physical conditions that are reasonable, that doesn't put too much strain on the body for the professional tennis players? And you have to think about that as a club level player as well. I've heard from other players around the tour that this is becoming an issue where we can't really overlook it anymore. Some players complain about the balls being different also from like a playability point of view, that suddenly you have a super light ball, then in the next tournament you have a super heavy ball. Something with that the ATP Tour, the tennis community, manufacturers of tennis products need to think about to make sure we reduce the amount of injuries. I really try to put my best in making information readily available so that at least club players don't put too much strain on their body with the gear. But if you're playing on a competitive level, obviously you want the gear that maximizes your chance of winning. So you can't really go to like a multi-filament string, or maybe some players don't even like to go with a hybrid setup, which is becoming more and more popular, So hybrid setups are a little bit more comfortable, but not everybody loves them. I talk to players that, they want to use a full bed of poly. They need to play with a stiff racket. They want a denser string pattern. All that creates a really stiff string bed. So it's not only balls, it's obviously also equipment, but the balls seem to be the most pressing issue and the one that's maybe easiest to tackle, although not easy at all. It would be fun to talk to some ATP people, maybe WTA people, about this issue and see what they think. If there are any, discussions on that level where they can come up with, some kind of solution to mitigate this issue and hopefully reduce the strain on players' bodies. You might be struggling with that as well. I'm keen to hear from you in the comments. Like, when you're playing tennis, what type of injuries do you get? Are you preparing physically for your tennis sessions? Are you stretching? Are you warming up? It's a pretty demanding sport. Not everyone has problems from playing with a stiff racket or a stiff string setup or something. We're all different players, all different problems. Yeah, keen to hear your opinions. Should we have a standard ball? Should there be some rule changes in terms of setups? Should the court speeds be more different? Because if the court speeds are more different, we're getting more of a contrasting type of tennis, which I think is good. It's nice to see that you can have a different style and actually benefit from faster courts. Or a different style in terms of, you used to have these clay courters, like clay court specialists. They're not really around anymore. You don't see them as much, because now, if you're a clay court specialist, you're probably a good baseliner, and then so many hardcore tournaments are pretty slow courts. So then you will be able to play your kind of clay court game also on a hard court. So there's definitely a big change happening in tennis the last few years. And I don't know if it's bringing more entertainment or less entertainment, but maybe it's good to have some variety, because that's what we like in tennis: the contrasting styles, variety of surfaces. I think that's one of tennis strengths, so we don't want to lose that either, right? That's my rant for today. Have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.